back to Random Rod Shop, folks. Well, I got the seat in. If you watched the last video, I had a little bit of struggles, but I got the seat in. Let me show it to you. I think that actually looks pretty good. In addition to getting the seats bolted in, getting the brackets all welded on and all that stuff, I also got the bed bolted down. You know, if you guys have ever done a frame swap on a pickup, you know, it may be challenging to get the bed, you know, lined up with the cab, get the cab square to the frame, get the front end, you know, get the gaps. Every time I do, I've had the bed on a number of times at this point, and I think I've lined it up each time, and I keep thinking it's going to get easier. I even made some marks under there, so the next time it might be easier. But it still took a while to line the, you know, to get the bed sides, you know, left and right lined up with the cab, and the sides parallel with the cab. So anyway, that was a lot of noise, right? So today we're going to have a look at this bed, because we need to figure out how to get the other four bed mounts in there, and it would be nice if we had a floor in this bed. So I'm going to move the camera over here, and well, we'll look at it. So, you know, if you guys have been following along for a while, you know, I ended up cutting a good chunk of this bed floor out to get it to set down around this Tahoe chassis. And I really haven't given it much thought. I guess maybe that's not true. I've been thinking about it for a while, trying to figure out what we're going to do for a bed floor. I went out and measured. You know, I got a number of pickups out in the pasture. Most of them are the GM variety, but I had originally thought I just used the bed floor out of one of the other Internationals, but those bed floors are kind of toast. I mean, push come to shove, I could, you know, piece it together, but I don't know. So today we're going to do some thinking and see if we can come up with a plan. So, you know, remember I told you these Harbor Freight aluminum rulers are just handy as all get out. This is the one I cut, you know, to measure the rocker. But because you're not that concerned with them, you can just clamp them together and make kind of a old carpenter's, you know, wood measure out of them. Anyway, I got them clamped together, and and I don't know if I said this before, but magnets are your friend. So I got a couple of magnets on both of them to keep them all vertical, and what I was looking for was how much elevation do I actually need in that bed floor. So, you know, I clamped two of them together, and I measured, you know, put the level across there to see what kind of elevation I actually am going to need. And those rulers, as it turns out, happens to be pretty close. I mean, if I made the cross ties at that height, that actually I think would clear everything. Definitely going to clear the fuel, and it looks like it's going to clear the spring towers, and that's all the problem. Everything else is going to clear. So I measured these, and as you might guess, you know, they're Harbor Freight, so they're metric. In English standards, they're about 1 5/8 inches wide. I don't know about you, but I don't have any 1 5/8 inches. I went looking, and I do have some 1 1/2 inches. I've got some 1 1/2 inches by 3 tubing that I bought a long time ago to build a Model T frame, Model T Roadster. And I did start on that, but at that point, you know what? I just wasn't good enough to build it. That's the sad truth. So I've had this piece of steel hanging around for a long time. Anyway, it's 1.5 by 3, and I think it would actually work. So I'm gonna go drag that thing in from the pasture, and I'm gonna lay this on there because that's the right length, right? I'm gonna lay it on there, and I'm gonna mark me a couple bars or a couple of pieces. I'm gonna mark it, cut it, and I'll bring you back when I get them cut, and we'll set those 1.5 ones in here and see if they still clear. All right, well, I got them. Let's lay level on there, and let's see if it's going to clear that shock tower with those, I got the fuel lines and the wiring harness laid across it. Well, I think that'll work. And it looks like there's still not going to be any problem with the fuel. So, the next thing to think about is where are we going to put the mounts? Because these two braces are going to need mounts. Now, actually, it doesn't look too bad up there. I can come up with some chairs from the frame and just mount that bed right there. Back here on this end, the shock mounts are right there. And, it looks like, right there was where the Tahoe put the frame mounts. I don't know. Let me move this bar up there. I don't know if it's going to clear everything, but that would be handy if it fit there, wouldn't it? I'm gonna put the camera up so I can have both hands, and let's adjust this thing. See if, or let's move this, this brace and see if it'll go up, if it'll clear. That's the vent for the rear end. We'll have to remember to take care of that. And the electric can move. I could reposition that fuel line. All right, and the brake line can come back a little bit. So let's have a look. You know what? I think that'll work. It's a little closer than I was anticipating, but there's really no reason that shouldn't work. There's plenty of room between the fuel line. And like I said, I can move this bracket here, and I can reposition that, and I can adjust that brake line, get it out of the way of the mount. I think I like that idea. That's going to require significantly less work to get this mounted. Still going to have to build a chair up here. It looks like there's Tahoe mounts right here. All right, we'll go with that, and we'll go with that. And looks like I may want to cut another bar. Let me get out and let's have a chat about this. Okay, so originally I thought I was going to have to take out a big chunk of the floor on this thing. But reality is, it doesn't look like I'm going to have to cut much of this floor out. Now that would all be different if, we were if we were trying to get it on the ground, but I got too many dirt roads. This thing needs to operate like a pickup. So I think the real question on my mind is, do I make the bed floor flush, or do I just put a rise right there? And if I put the rise there, I'm still going to need some elevation here to clear all of this mess. So maybe that's what we do. You know, remember early on when I was trying to mount this bed, the two front bed supports are actually bolt welded to, and they were spot welded, to the bottom of that bed floor. And I was having trouble getting the bed to line up. Thought I drilled the holes wrong. But the mount, you can see that little 1/4-20 bolt there and the 1/4-20 bolt there. What was happening is the bed mount was rocking, right? And given the way it's shaped here, it was laying back. So those 1/4-20s pull that bed mount bracket back perpendicular to the bed floor. So if I leave the front floor in, I don't have to monkey with those front mounts. But that's going to leave a low spot in front of the bed. Don't know. Don't know about that one yet. I think what we're going to do at this point, now that we know the 1.5 inches is going to work, I'm going to mark this thing out, and man, we're going to have to get to cutting. I'm looking forward to that. That's a lot of grinder. So I'll go ahead and film it. I don't know if it's going to show up in the video or not, because I'm going to be here a while. Maybe I'll just clip it in as I go along. I don't know. Anyway, I'll get back to you. I thought I'd bring you back. I'd like to keep this little angle iron. It's part of the bed. The bed had a 90 bend on it, and when I cut the bed out, I left that little 90. But I'd like to keep that there as a reference. But I need to cut the bottom off. So I got to thinking, and so what I came up with is I welded some pieces of angle iron on the end of my tubes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those in there, and I'm going to screw those, I'll be able to reference off of that 90, and I can screw those into the sides, and it'll pull them together even, because these are the same length. And what that'll do is, given I've screwed these in, I can just whack the bottom of that off and then come back in and screw these in, and they'll be in the right place. And I don't have to worry about being too precise in terms of cutting the bottom off. And it's kind of a pain. Quite honestly, I should have cut the bottom off before I put the bed on. But I think if I get these positioned and I screw them in place so that I can, take them out and then put them back and they'll go in the same place, I think we'll be good. So I'm going to get these screwed in, and then I'm going to take them out. Then we're going to start cutting. All right. Well, that wasn't overly complicated. Now I should be able to put them back, and they should be in the right position. All right. Well, I think I'm just procrastinating. I'm not looking forward to, sitting here with a grinder for a couple of minutes. All right. I'm going to cut it off. I'll bring you back when I got it cut. So I thought I'd show you this. I drilled those holes, and I also drilled in an additional 1/8 inch hole right there. That way I can be assured that when I put those screws back in, Let's see if I can get it in here. That way it goes back where it's supposed to go. All right, I'm gonna get the rest of them in. All right, so I think we're on our way. It looks like the one last thing we need to figure out is are the fender walls straight up and down? So let me move this. Right, so I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to, put a stick in the ground and make sure that the distance from here to here matches the distance from here to here. And, kind of eyeball everything, but if it all looks pretty good, at this point, I don't know what else to do. It would have been a lot smarter if I would have taken some measurements before I cut the whole thing apart, huh? But it is what it is at this point. So let me do some measuring there. And my thought is, as long as both sides are the same, and I know I got the rear mounts the same, and I know I got the front ones, so as long as those are the same, and it looks like it's sort of holding everything level, that ought to be good enough. All right, let me get back to you. Oh, that looks like that may work out. Remember the corners I cut off of the, I guess, rear cab mounts? Well, that was 2x4 tubing. It looks like 2 inches is going to be pretty good. So I need to find me something I can use for a 2-inch spacer. All right, let me go digging. All right, I'll bring you back. So I thought I could use those 2-inch square, but the Tahoe mount hole is bigger than 2 inches. So I found some 4x4. I think that's what this is. No, I found some 3x3. And it's still the 2 inches. So cut the 3x3, drilled holes in the cross member, welded some nuts in there. The holes in my mounts here are 1/2 inch, those are 3/8 bolts. Give me a little wiggle room. Just in case it isn't perfect. So I think at this point, we're ready to set this thing back in there and see if all of my shenanigans are gonna work. So let me turn the camera around and let me get this thing in there. Let me get screws. Let me see if I can get this thing in there. One of those little Harbor Freight picks is 1/8 of an inch, so it works better than a drill bit. All right, so this side is dragging a little bit, so this one may be a little more interesting to put in. think that'll work. Now my plan is just to weld this chair onto the frame. And I think that will have the back. Now you might be asking, what are you going to do with all this mess? Well, eventually, I'm going to weld these to this, right? Need to put a piece of angle iron in between the rails. So we still got some more work to do there, but getting it mounted in here and getting the bed fixed to it, that's a long ways down the path. Question is, what are we going to do with the front up here? Let me get the camera. All right, so what we got going on here is, all right, that's angled, so it's not as easy as this one. This one was flat, but I think the right approach on this, given my success at bending precisely, I think this is one of those might just make in 3 pieces. So make the arm that goes here and make the one that goes on this side and up, and then weld a plate across the top of them to connect it. And we can end up doing the same thing we did here and drill a hole and weld a nut in. Then we can just bolt it in, because there's not a problem of access to get to the bolt. I think that's what we're going to do. Let me get some cardboard and let's see if we can make a pattern. This tape together because I'm anxious to try it on the other side. That would be nice if if it was the same on both sides, or at least I think so. Let me get some tape. All right, so that's what I got. The question is, does it really fit? Let me try it on this side, and then we'll put it over there and see if it works over there. Well, I think that'll work, guys. Let's see if it'll work over here. Now, I gotta tell you, that makes me happy. Because it looks like they're the same. All right, I need to make this thing. So let me find some metal and let me see what I can do. All right, I think that will do it. I don't know if you can see that down there. Probably not. There we go. So it's just a chair like the paper pattern we had. That feels a whole lot more stable. And when it's all said and done, really aren't going to have to move the floor very much. So I'm happy about that. I think my young son has decided he's going to put a wood floor in this thing. And I think I said earlier, all of the beds I got, they're not wide enough. This International is wider than everything else I have. Now I could split, take two of them and split them down the middle and, take a big half out of one, a big half out of the other one, and we could get it in there. But I think he's decided on a wood bed. So this will work out really well for that. We need to put another brace across the front and a brace across the back, but those two braces are those are the ones I was kind of worried about in terms of how to get them in there. So we haven't got them welded in there yet, but I'll get those welded in, and I'll go ahead and get the other ones cut. So hopefully next time we could be talking about what exactly is the bed going to look like. Well, I appreciate you watching. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Leave a comment. And until next time, I'm Random at Random Rod Shop, and we're out of here.